This segment is brought to you by Terrebonne Ford, built Ford tough.
Welcome to the Nicholls State University Class of 2025 Hall of Fame and Hall of Distinction ceremony. I appreciate every one of you being here. And before we get started, I just want to acknowledge our head coaches that are in the house. Our head football coach, Tommy Rybecki. Our head track and cross country coach, Steph Salikis. Our head baseball coach, Brent Herring. Our interim head tennis coach, Caitlin Kenzaneri. Former head coaches in the house, Coach Tim Rebo, Coach Jay Thomas. I appreciate all of you for being here. Some dignitaries that we have in the house today, Mr. Henry Lafont, who is Lafourche Parish School Board. I'm not doing it again, Lester, I got it. City Councilman Lester Beamer. Our Executive Vice President of Finance, Mr. Terry Bro. First Lady of Nicholls State University, Ms. Allison Kloon. Vice President of Student Affairs and Provost, Mr. Todd Keller. And Tyler Legnine, Alumni Director. I do my best to try not to forget anybody, but one of our former presidents is here. That is Dr. Murphy. I knew he was in the house. I was looking right at him. Thank you all for being here. We are so excited to celebrate this outstanding class and all that it represents. Excellence, perseverance, and the spirit of being a colonel. I also want to ask that all Hall of Fame and Hall of Distinction alum to please stand. I want to recognize the Hall of Fame and Hall of Distinction Committee, Mr. Lester Beamer, Dr. Melanie Boudreau, Ms. Stacy Gilliard, Mr. Henry Johnson, Mr. Henry Lafont, Andrew Kernan, Jamie Bustos. Thank you all for your commitment, dedication, and hard time. And finally, thank you to each and every one of you for being here this morning and making this day so special for our honorees. It is a great pleasure for me to introduce to you our sixth president, Dr. Jay Kloon.
Good morning, and thank you all for being here today. We are honoring some of the best we've had the pleasure of calling colonels, from Hall of Fame nominees who have inspired our present-day colonels and will continue to inspire for years to come, to our Hall of Fame distinction honorees, who have honored us and moved us with their dedication to our athletic programs. Today's inductees join the ranks of the best Nicholls has ever had, from student athletes who have excelled not only in competition, but also in the classroom, to administrators who not only led us to the top of the Southland Conference, but did so on the smallest budget in the conference. We are so proud to welcome you back to campus today to recognize your accomplishments. The mere mention of our Hall of Distinction inductees' names is synonymous with Colonel's athletics, and we are proud to call them friends of the university. To all of today's honorees, congratulations. Welcome to the Athletics Hall of Fame and Hall of Distinction. And as we say around here, go Colonels.
Thanks, Dr. Kloon. Now I'd like to introduce our MC for today's ceremony, a man who truly does it all. When needed, he is an ESPN Plus analyst, a PA announcer. He used to be a compliance officer for athletics. He's rarely recognized for all that he contributes to athletics, but we're changing that today. And he gets to put another feather in his hat. He's a proud Nicholls alumnus with his master's degree from right here at Nicholls State University. He loves this place and our student athletes like no one else. My friend, my right-hand man, my deputy athletic director, Mr. Andrew Kernan.
Thank you. I'd like to apologize now. This isn't really built for me. I'm staring ahead all morning. Thank you. As JT mentioned, I am Andrew Kearney, Athletics Director, and glad to be here today and to welcome you to today's ceremony. Thank you for being here to help us celebrate astonishing contributions, accomplishments of 9 individuals who have left an indelible mark on Nicholls State University. JT thanked the committee for their work in determining this year's inductees. Each year, the committee has to make extremely hard decisions on who will be part of the next induction class. This year was no different. And there are several nominees that are worthy of today's honors that were not voted in to either the Hall of Distinction or Hall of Fame. If you would like to nominate someone for the Hall of Distinction or Hall of Fame, please let me know at the conclusion of the ceremony. A very similar speech I gave at one of our Colonel Caravan events at the World War II Museum in August led to someone being inducted today. So please do not think they're not going to get in, whatever. Please let us know. The formal process will start next summer, but we will take nominees whenever you have them to try and recognize people for everything they've given to Nicholls. As JT kind of mentioned, today's really special for me. I'm really glad that I get to be here. It's a culmination of years and years of hard work.
This segment was brought to you by Terrebonne Ford. Built Ford tough.
Years of hard work for everyone being inducted, and in most cases, I get to inform them of their induction. It's a really, really special moment, have conversations with them leading up to today, and then formally get to induct them. I get to share in the excitement. It's not every day that we get to do this, and as my tenure at Nicholls continues, I get to see student athletes who when they came to Nicholls, I saw as kids, they're now grown adults, and people that I worked beside for years receive such worthy honors. So today's 9 inductees, congratulations and thank you for letting me come along for the ride. Before we start with the Hall of Distinction inductees, we would like to thank Dr. Neil and Janet Mackey for their continued contributions to Nicholls State University. Dr. Mackey is with us today. Dr. Mackey. 14 years ago, Dr. Mackey was inducted into the Hall of Distinction, but has continued to be extremely generous at Nicholls. Just yesterday afternoon, we had a ribbon cutting on the Dr. Neil and Janet Mackey Legacy Center at Guidry Stadium. The Mackey's generosity has transformed an outdated space that people throughout the community use into a gorgeous space that thousands will use for years to come. Nicholls Athletics and Nicholls State University gives a special thank you to you, Dr. Mackey, and your wife, Janet. All right, now we get to go on with everything else. The Nicholls State University Hall of Distinction recognizes individuals or groups who have made significant contributions to Nicholls athletics. The 2025 class recognizes a former football assistant whose wildly successful career and generosity has allowed him to transform Nicholls athletics, an employee who created and sustained a football family spanning over 3 decades, and one of the country's foremost fundraisers who has been able to share his knowledge with his alma mater. Trey Bookvault was an assistant football coach at Nicholls for 5 seasons in the early 2000s under head coaches Darrell Day and Jay Thomas. When Trey left Nicholls, he started an exceptionally outstanding career as an entrepreneur. Trey, a South Louisiana native, never forgot about Nicholls. His contributions to Nicholls athletics cannot be counted, but his generosity has served as a cornerstone on campus and the benchmark across the Bayou region. Trey's contributions are headlined by a $2.52 million donation for the football end zone facility and covered practice facility, which is the largest gift in Nicholls athletics history. As a result of that gift, Nicholls has one of the top football championship subdivision facilities in the country that is not only used by football, but all of our teams. For decades to come, football student athletes will have a safer practice and sports medicine facility, space to learn, grow, and hopefully celebrate. The Buchwald Athletic Complex has also given a vision to the community on what is possible for our teams. Without Trey's generosity, similar facilities that will be built soon would not be happening for our baseball, soccer, and softball teams. Trey's contributions have not stopped, and they will be felt across the department for decades to come. Our golf team practices and competes at Trey's Latour Golf Club in Matthews, Louisiana. Each year, the team hosts over a dozen teams around the country who join in South Louisiana to play at South Louisiana's best golf course. Nicholls Athletics could not be more appreciative of Trey, his wife Brandy, and their children Ori and Lex, who was a former member of the Nicholls football team. Due to business obligations, Trey is unable to attend today. Accepting on behalf is Mike Kiefer, a friend, family member, and colleague of Trey's. Ladies and gentlemen, please help us in welcoming Trey Buchwald into the Nicholls Hall of Distinction.
Go Colonels.
Yeah, it's the shortest acceptance speech in the history of the ceremony. Thanks, Mike. For over 30 years, Amelie Talbot called Nicholls football home. Luckily for thousands of football student athletes, Amelie gave each of them a home away from home. As a football program's administrative assistant, Amelie was someone who would listen, give words of encouragement, and maybe a little kick in the butt whenever a student athlete needed, and maybe for some coaches too. When student athletes needed Amelie, they knew exactly where to find her. Amelie viewed her job as way more than could ever be listed in a job description. Her office was her second home, and it became that for others. Other people noticed, and they joined Amelie whenever they could. Amelie's daughter Leah said in her nomination submission that despite what Amelie gave Nicholls, Nicholls gave her something equally precious in return: a purpose, a community, and an extended family that enriched her life immeasurably. Nicholls is nothing without its people, and we are proud to call Amelie and her husband Emil, who both retired as longtime employees of Nicholls, colonels. Ladies and gentlemen, please help us in welcoming Amelie Talbot to the Nicholls Hall of Distinction.
Good morning. I thought I was going to have somebody to follow and knew what to say, but no, I'm not real sure, but please bear with me. Thank you all, and thank you all for coming. Dr. Clune, JT, special guests, the committee, former inductees, members and coaches of the 2005 football team, and everyone here today, including our 2025 colonels. I'm extremely humbled and honored. Thank you, Andrew, for putting together such a great program this morning. As many of you know, I am not a morning person, but I am so happy to be here with all of you this morning for this great honor. I was shocked, and my first reaction was there were so many others that helped me along the way and should be here before me. I want to thank my daughter for nominating me. It was very touching. Thank you to the committee for selecting me, And congratulations to Trey Bookvout and Steve Watson, who are a big part of Nicholls' athletics program in sharing this day with me. I had the privilege of working with both of them. Congratulations to all the 2025 Hall of Fame inductees. All of you are well deserving. This is my story, and it's 33 years put into a few pages, and I hope I don't bore you with it. When I interviewed with Mr. Don Landry and Coach Clements for an opening in the athletic department, I had no idea that I would call Nicholls Athletics home for 33 years. During that time, I worked for 7 head coaches after Coach Clements: Sonny Jackson, Phil Greco, Rick Rhodes, Darren Barbier, Darryl Day, Jay Thomas, and Charlie Stubbs. Well, I had the same job for those 33 years. The different coaching staffs kept my job very interesting. Each of them were great football coaches, but also wonderful bosses and family-oriented. A lot changed during my 33 years, and even more since my retirement in 2013. But one thing that has stayed the same is the Colonel Athletics family. I hope my contributions can come close to what it has given me: lifelong friendships and memories. Well, before jumping into my new job, I attended a pre-scheduled vacation to Hawaii, sponsored by the Alumni Association. Ms. Genevieve, who I'm sure a lot of you remember, had been there 15 years when I started. She was my mentor and continues to be a great friend. She would also laugh and said that I was the only person she knew who took vacation before they started a job. Who would have imagined I would spend the next 33 years in Nicholls Athletics, my family away from home? Nearly 100 student athletes every year for 33 years. I may not remember each of you or your name, but I supported every team you played on and the way you represented Nicholls so well. There were some that I got to know more than others, especially if they were known to require frequent visits to the coach's office and played 5 years. I tried to be a welcoming space and was often known to have a bowl of candy on my desk. I enjoyed every one of these athletes and admired the respect these young men and women had when they entered my office. I not only had football when I started, but all of women's sports under the leadership of Miss Marion Curtis, who was women's athletic director. It was quite a job handling all of those sports. They eventually separated women's sports and hired their own secretary, Ms. Jean Bourgeois. All the men's sports had offices in Barker at the time. I also enjoyed working closely with baseball, basketball, golf, soccer, tennis, and track. It truly was a great honor to be a part of such a wonderful organization. Many people may not realize all of the behind-the-scenes work that it takes to allow the players and coaches to hit the field on game day. It requires a team effort on the business office, the ticket office, the trainers, sports information, and many other areas to make games possible. We did not have a compliance coordinator like Andrew and academic programs like they have today. I have fond memories of senior night and awards banquets, watching the athletes being recognized for their hard work. Completing the game day eligibility list and scholarship forms were part of my duties while at Nicholls. These were important, but sometimes stressful parts of my job. I worked closely with the registrar's office and financial aid to get these things done. Sometimes this even required tracking down a dean for a signature after they had already left campus, or rushing to FedEx to make sure we met the mailing deadlines. The team could not travel or compete until this was done. This was very important, and I prided myself on doing the best possible job. Not everyone can work all week and on Saturday night see the results as I could when I was in the stands. I would type the practice schedules, the lineup, the plays, and it was rewarding to see the finished product on the field. I also have many fond memories of fundraisers, holiday celebrations, and many other activities that I was part of. I used to say if my office was any further to the back of campus, I would be working at Thibodeau Regional. Even though my office was in Barker, I made many friends on the entire campus. They were always willing to help when I needed help, and I was happy to help everyone on the entire campus. I would like to thank every one of you who helped me in many ways for all those years. I was also happy to promote athletics to our entire campus. Nicholls was my family for 33 years. Most of the major events in my family happened in those years. I was very lucky to have the support of the athletic department through all of them. After I started at Nicholls, my husband gave up his LSU tickets that he had with his buddies for many years, so he could attend Nicholls games, so we could attend Nicholls games together. He was a true Colonel fan until his passing in May of 2024. My daughter Leah was born 4 years after I started. She watched her first game from the hospital window. I don't think she missed many games after that. She and her dad talked and watched football together all the time. Honestly, she probably knew the game better than me. She even had her birthday party before a game while tailgating. Nicholls gave her an excellent education and the opportunity to get involved on campus in Greek life and student programming. She received a great education from Nicholls and went on to Loyola and earned her law degree. Nicholls is also where she met her husband while he was obtaining his nursing degree. He transferred to Nicholls from New Orleans after one of the storms. Nicholls treated our family very well. Through the years, our family suffered health issues and setbacks. The athletic department rallied around us and was very supportive. That I will always be thankful for. I work with some special friends that are no longer with us. Mr. Easton, Miss Falcon, Mr. Kearney, Coach Jackson, Coach Guillot, Coach Clark, Miss Curtis, Steve Corvetta, and Don Schwab. Others that I worked with and still consider good friends and family, some whom are here and some who were not able to attend, Miss Marcy, Mr. Olin, Miss G, Miss Susan, Michelle Keefe, Miss Jean, Miss Connie, who is still the rock of the athletic department, and many others. There were many assistant coaches and their wives, husbands. Really, too many to mention. Coach Tim Rebo, up until my retirement, was the only coach that I had never worked for. Coach Rebo was an assistant coach during my time at Nicholls. It was wonderful watching him return as head coach and leading the team to so many years of success. He and his family mean a great deal to me. I'm sure there are others who I may be forgetting, but hold a special place in my heart. Over the years, I had many student workers who were always a big help. I took these students under my wings and hoped that I was able to teach them not only work and responsibility, but life lessons, which they carried into their adult lives. They, along with their families, were very special to me. These people were always so helpful, and I considered great co-workers, friends, and a great work family. There were many employees throughout campus that I worked closely with and remained friends. In addition to my official duties, I always tried to support our coaches, athletes, and their families so they could continue in the sport they loved. If there was anything I could do to help a coach or player's family, I was willing to do it. A great example is the support I happily gave to our current athletic, JT, and his wife, Taryn. While they were finishing their degrees, To allow them to take a needed evening class, I helped with their oldest daughter, Caitlin. While my daughter, Leah, was at piano lessons, she and I would spend time at McDonald's every Thursday. She is very special to me. This is one example of how close-knit the athletic department is and such a wonderful program to have been a part of for so many years. I also enjoyed the time I was able to spend with Jake Thomas's family, both as an assistant and head coach. On one trip to an away game, Coach was on the field coaching, and his daughter Haley was sitting with my husband and I in the stands. With her blonde hair and fair complexion, I did my best to keep her out of the sun. However, she still managed to get a pretty bad sunburn. I was worried about what Coach's reaction might be when I returned to the office the following week. Coach Thomas and Ms. Jan were very understanding, and I still consider them good friends today. There were tough times, budgets, hurricanes, etc., but the good and the fun outweighed all of it. Again, I would like to thank all of you, my family and friends in attendance, and a lot of my friends. I really appreciate you being here. My daughter and her husband, Justin, and his parents, and of course, my granddaughter, Whitney, who informs me that she is going to come to Nicholls. She's only 12, but I am looking forward to that also. Who are here to support me and share such a great honor awarded me by Colonel Athletics. Nicholls and Nicholls football will always hold a special place in my heart. I grew up and experienced and learned a lot while working in such a great place. I know I rattled on a lot, but I figured I was allowed a little bit extra space since our other inductees didn't take up the time. I hope I didn't bore you. I didn't play in a game or contributed in any sport, so there weren't any of those stories to share, but considered myself a true colonel. It was my home, away from home, while taking care of my own family. After 33 years, I knew it was time to step away from a day-to-day role, but continue to follow and support Colonel Athletics in any way I can. Technology has changed the way things are done. The campus in Nicholls Athletics has grown tremendously, but one thing that remains is the family spirit created by a shared love for Nicholls and Colonel Athletics. I am thankful to have had such a great family, which I always hold dear to my heart. And I know I mentioned you, but I would especially like to thank my older brother Oliver Pontiff and his wife Debbie, my brother Les Pontiff and his wife Cheryl, my nephew and godchild Jason and his wife Brandy, and all of you for allowing me to serve this great university for 33 years, and am very, very honored for this award. Thank you all from the bottom of my heart. Go Colonels, and good luck this afternoon.
After talking with Amelie leading up to today, she was really nervous. You didn't have any reason to be nervous. So that was phenomenal. It is remarkable that Stephen Watson somehow ended up at Nicholls. A native of Scotland, Stephen had a chance encounter with another runner that led to a priority mail envelope with a letter that directed him to be at his dorm room's lobby phone at 7 a.m. The type of story you only hear in the movies. Not long after that call, Stephen was on his way to Thibodaux. Stephen finished his career with the track team while getting his bachelor's degree, and then received his MBA from Nicholls, working as a graduate assistant in Nicholls Athletics. And that's when his career in development started. Not long after that, he joined the staff of what at the time was known as the D-Day Museum in New Orleans. 18 months later, Stephen had taken the museum's membership from 3,000 to 60,000. The museum, which later changed its name to the World War II Museum, elevated Stephen as president and CEO in 2017. Stephen, as one of the nation's foremost fundraisers, has transformed the museum, which regularly ranks in the top 5 in all museums in the country. The museum now is also home to a hotel, conference center, and is a cornerstone of the New Orleans economy. After Stephen left campus, he's continued to give back to his alma mater for over 20 years. The museum provides a beautiful backdrop yearly for one of our Colonel Caravan stops. His wisdom, knowledge, and above all else, kindness have provided an immeasurable amount of opportunities for student athletes wearing Colonel Red. Unfortunately, Stephen was the last member of his family to get sick and informed us this morning that he would not be able to make it. We still want to recognize Stephen for everything that he's given to Nicholls, so please, ladies and gentlemen, help us in welcoming Stephen Watson to the Nicholls Hall of Distinction. The Nicholls Athletics Hall of Fame honors former student athletes, coaches, and staff members who have left a notable and significant mark on the university. While athletics is far from the most important thing that we do at Nicholls, it's often the most visible, and tonight's 6 inductees were definitely visible. They left campus community with an unmistakable sense of superiority. This year's class features a pair of football teammates who helped transform the community's connection to Nicholls, a pair of softball and baseball catchers who dominated both behind the plate and at the plate, a former athletic director who transformed the department, and a tennis student athlete from down under that took over the Southland as a freshman. Stephanie Barnett, a Barnesdale, Australia native, made her impact immediate when arriving in Thibodaux. As a freshman, Stephanie was named All-Southland second team in the Nicholls Freshman Women's Student Athlete of the Year with a 15-6 record, but that was just a start. Stephanie's sophomore season is one of the best seasons in Nicholls history. That year, Stephanie led the team to its first conference championship in 20 years, behind an 11-0 record in conference play. It's no surprise that the season of that caliber led to Stephanie being named Southland Player of the Year, Southland Student Athlete of the Year, Louisiana Player of the Year, Nicholls Female Athlete of the Year, and was All-Southland All-Academic First Team, was Southland Player of the Week 4 times, and was All-Southland First Team in both singles and doubles. Despite injuries limiting consistent play for Stephanie after her sophomore year, she still finished that career with a remarkable 64-20 record in singles play, with over 85% of the matches played at the number 1 line. Stephanie is a 2-time graduate of Nicholls, and we could not be more proud that Stephanie was able to come back to Thibodaux all the way from Australia today. Fans, please help us in welcoming Stephanie Barnett to the Nicholls Hall of Fame.
I'm truly honoured to stand up here today and accept this award. First and foremost, I want to thank my mum and my dad for giving me this incredible opportunity to allow the youngest of 3 to travel over 16,000 kilometres or 10,000 miles to the other side of the world at 19 years old. A special thanks as well to my grandma, one of my biggest supporters. She even learned how to FaceTime and email just to keep up with my matches throughout my college years. Thank you to my brother and my sister for getting me involved in tennis. My sister, I would spend hours at the tennis courts, picking up balls, begging my mum to let me play until she finally did at the age of 5. My sister was one of my biggest inspirations, and as we got older, we started playing doubles together, which was super special. I grew up in a small town in Australia, similar to Thibodeau, but mine was 3.5 hours from the city of Melbourne. Where I now live, my mum would drive me to the city every weekend during tennis season, and that commitment shaped who I am today. Coming from a small town made the move to Thibodeau slightly easier, but still, there were plenty of tearful phone calls home most Sundays, especially to my older sister. I made my parents come over on their first ever overseas trip to settle me in as a freshman, and I nearly went home with them at the end of that first week. I was that homesick. But 6 years later, I was still here because Nicholls had truly become a second home. I was fortunate to have many wonderful coaches and mentors growing up. People saw potential in me before I saw it in myself, from former college and professional players to local supporters who encouraged me to pursue college tennis, which at the time was quite uncommon in Australia. Liz Pearce was a former professional. She once told me I had too much potential to not play college tennis, advice that stuck with me. I'm deeply grateful for my coaches, Julian Arnold and Aidan Fitzgerald, for guiding me through that pathway, and to my close friend Sophie Vickers, whose own college experience inspired me to take the leap. I'd also like to thank John and Julie Glynn, the late Barry Stokes, Amanda and Greg Dundas, Mark Stevens, and Wilford Charlton, all who played instrumental roles in my early tennis journey. In 2013, I was recruited by coach Meenakshi Sundaram, and I'll be forever grateful for his guidance and belief in me. He challenged me in ways that no coach ever had and helped me to develop not only as a player but as a person. He was one of the best coaches I've ever had, one that saw things in me I had not seen in myself. I was brought into a team with the benchmark set by two great leaders, Isla Brock and Marie Aubert, who guided me and taught me a lot. Later, Coach Greg Harkins came in and worked with me throughout my senior years, helping me to secure my 6th year of eligibility after injuries. I also want to thank Andrew Kearney and the athletic department for their dedication in getting me not one but 2 red shirts. And of course, Miss Marilyn, our international advocate, who made sure I could be legal in the country for all those years. During my time here, I was surrounded by incredible teammates who became family. We came from different corners of the world, most of us alone, far from home, which made our bond unbreakable. We ate together, lived together, trained together, and spent every spare moment together. Despite our cultural differences, Nicholls Tennis united us. Even now, if any of them showed up at my doorstep, they'd know they'd have a place to stay, and they'd do the same for me. Also to the soccer girls and the golf boys who spent a lot of Saturday nights in Brady 324, thank you for all the memories that will always be remembered and we'll talk about in years to come. Although many of these people obviously can't be here today, I hope they know how grateful I am for their friendship and the impact they've had on my life. And then there's Nicholls, a place and community that will always hold a special place in my heart. When people ask if I miss it, I don't quite know how to answer that. Of course, I miss the people and the memories, but I'm also incredibly thankful for what I have now in Melbourne. My years here were full of growth, challenges, and unforgettable moments. At first, I missed everything familiar at home, little things like walking down the road to the fresh apple farm to get a bag of apples, or just being 20 minutes from the beach, but over time, Nicholls became home. Leaving was one of the hardest things I've had to do. There were so many highlights, but winning the regular season conference title in 2015 remains one of the proudest moments of my career. Even though we narrowly lost the tournament after winning the regular season to lost the final to Northwestern, that season was defined by spirit and culture. I'll never forget the bus drive there with both teams singing Simply the Best by Tina Turner as loud as we could in the bus, a moment that I can't think of now without a tear and a smile. After defeating the 21st ranked player in the year at Tulane, in the country at Tulane, and earning a ranking as a freshman and winning regular season as a sophomore, I had opportunities to transfer, but Nicholls was too special. The people in the community here made it impossible to leave. Families like Alison and Craig Robinson and their extended family, Trey and Laura Greco and their girls, Carol and Butch, the late Butch Norcan, Jody and Scott Tooten, who promised my parents they'd look after me when they first met them in Starbucks, made Thibodeau feel like home. Your kindness and generosity meant the world to me, and both my family and I will always be grateful. But my time here wasn't without its challenges. I battled injuries with broken bones, torn ligaments. When I couldn't play, Nicholls lifted me up. Through it all, I earned my bachelor's and master's degrees and countless memories along the way. Looking back now, I can't help but smile at things we used to complain about, like dodging cracks on the old courts or watching the balls bounce unpredictably off of them. Now we see the new facility and they're very lucky for what they have. Those moments, I actually have a piece of court in my senior day frame. That just explains the little bits of concrete around the court too. I'm beyond grateful for this opportunity to represent Nicholls and play the sport I love and to be recognised with this honour. Thank you to the Nicholls Athletics Committee, my teammates, my coaches, and this incredible community. Congrats to all the others that are getting inducted today who stand up with me. I'm so proud and forever will be proud to be a Colonel. Thank you.
If a catcher caught for one Baseball Hall of Fame pitcher, it might be luck. 2, it might say something about the catcher. And 3, you definitely know you had a good catcher. James Bergeron did just that on the diamond for the baseball team from 1970 to 73. And today, we are glad to join him with those teammates in the Nicholls Hall of Fame. James controlled the game behind the plate, helping the 1972 Colonels reach the NCAA championship game. To go with James' .985 career fielding percentage, he batted .290 and only struck out 15 times in his 4-year career. James' play didn't go unnoticed as he was named All-Gulf South in both 1972 and 1973, while also being named to the AAC-BC All-District team in 1972 and 73, before going on to play in the Expos organization. Jack is a Colonel through and through, a Houma native, where 4 out of his 5 siblings, him included, are graduates of Nicholls. His brother Ted went on to play quarterback for the Nicholls, and his brother Matt is also a Nicholls baseball alum. Fans, please help us in welcoming James Bergeron to the Nicholls Hall of Fame.
Thank y'all for all being here. It took me 15, 20 minutes to get here, Stephanie, not how long? Enjoyed it. Glasses. Thanks to President Jay Klum, Jonathan Terrell, AD, Andrew Kearney, Deputy AD, Shane Kleber, Director of Colonel Athletic Association, Kimberly Ratcliffe, Director of Engagement. Thank y'all for putting this on. I'd like to thank the Hall of Fame committee and congratulations to my fellow inductees to the Hall of Fame and Hall of Distinction. We will always have a common bond as members of the class of 2025. You have to be nominated to get into this Hall of Fame, so I'd like to thank Kenny Alfred, Lester Beamer, Matt Dinkle, Mike Davis, Paul Frasina. Their support and belief in me and my abilities made this moment possible. When I think about it, I'm proud, honored, very honored, and humble to be in this Hall of Fame. As a history major, I look back and wanted to see how many people we've had in the Hall of Fame. The Hall of Fame began in 1980. There have been 24 baseball players in the Hall of Fame. I'm 25. And that's over from 1960, the first baseball team ever at Nicholls. That's 60, 40, 65 years? 65 years. I was going to ask you, a math major over there, Kenny Alfred. I'd like to briefly talk about my family because to me it's an important thing on this earth. My nieces and nephews, Russ, Kyle, Matthew, Maggie, Jenny, and Katie have brought so much joy into our family's lives. And just want to mention their names today. And we have some babies that have been coming along the way in the last 2 years. James Patrick, named after Ted and I by Katie. And then Philip, Maggie had a little boy, Philip, and Matthew had a little girl, Aubrey. And I can't wait to watch them grow up. My siblings, all here today. My older brother Keith and his wife Sandy. Keith is the only one in the family that had to go to Vietnam. And the best thing that come out of that, he met his wife Sandy. Keith always looked after me. He took me in the woods one time, he and a buddy of his, late in the afternoon. It was getting dark, and he left me in the woods. You remember that, huh? Yeah. I owe you one for that. He's my big brother. He became a mechanic, did not go to college, and out of all 5 of us, to me, he had the most ability. He's a hell of a mechanic, and we call him Mr. Fix-It, and he helps the family all the time. He's also a very calm and quiet person, just like my dad was. I'm kidding about that. Next, Ted, my younger brother, who's 5 years younger than me. Ted came to Nicholls in 1973. And he led the Colonels in 1975 to their first conference championship. Ted is the best all-around athlete in our family. He played basketball, football, and baseball. And the only reason he's not standing here, I think, after watching him and his abilities, he tore up his knee his junior year, bad, real bad. My sister Jan, the quiet one in our family. She has all the personality. The rest of us were, just guys, but Jan is very outgoing. Was a just retired from teaching. Very proud of her. She kept the scrapbook that allowed me to look back on what I've done over the years, because when they call you and they ask you, okay, what awards, whatever you received, I had to go home and look through my scrapbook because I really didn't know. I was all conferences, this, that. Thank you, Jan, for doing that. And also, Jan came back to Nicholls when in her mid-30s and decided to get her degree. And that was something special. And then my younger brother, Matt, and his wife, Adina, are here today. Matt graduated, was a quarterback at Terrebonne, just like Ted. And he signed a scholarship to Nicholls, I think, in 1980. And he had a major league arm. And he hit with power as he grew a little stronger. And Matt could also run. He's the only one in the family that could really run decently. I was slow as a turtle. He was signed, the Twins. He was offered a contract with the Twins. He was drafted in his junior year, and then, of course, he hurt his arm in overuse, tendonitis in the right shoulder, kind of ended his career. He's another one I think would be standing before me in the Hall of Fame. He had a lot of ability, in my opinion. Coaches, my dad and Tom Freeman decided when I was 7 years old that I should get behind the plate. I didn't want to catch. I was scared, to be honest with y'all. They had to drag me, put the equipment on, teach me, this is what you do behind the plate. And first pitch comes in, they told me not to turn my head. Of course I turned my head, right behind the ear. I'm on the ground, they get me back up. Next pitch, don't turn your head, James. Next pitch, the batter releases the bat behind it. I turned my head and he hits me right behind the head, back to back. I said, boy, this is gonna be great. But I fell in love with catching, and I'll go over that after a while. Mr. Tom Freeman was a minor league catcher, taught me the right way to catch. From the beginning, I was taught the right way to catch. John Wayne Chesson was my high school coach. He was a catcher, so I got a little bit from John Wayne. Then, of course, Coach Didier signed me in 1969, and I began playing in 70. And Coach Didier, what he did was he'd bring in excellent people to work with you. And he brought in Hyatt Didier, who was a minor league catcher, no, major league catcher, I'm sorry if he's listening. He played for the Atlanta Braves and 3 or 4 other teams. But Bob came in and worked with us. And then you had Emil Joller, who's from Missouri. Emil's a Hall of Famer here from basketball and baseball, and one of the best outfielders I think I've ever seen. And I'll talk about Emil a little later. But Emil taught us how to run the bases. I never stole. Run the bases, and he worked with the outfielders. Emil was a great ball player. Coach Didier created the foundation for athletics. 1960, I think I said that, first baseball team. He was a disciplinarian and he was a fundamental coach. And our practices did not last that long. But God, we did situations for a long time. Then, when Coach Didier decided to retire in 1973, he became AD, and that's where this university and athletic program really began to go and get better and better. And after Coach Didier, Don Landry came along. He was a basketball coach. He became athletic director. So I'm going back in history a little bit because I think it's important that those 2 men would have created a foundation for Nicholls. Nicholls State, I owe this university a lot, and so does my family. 4 of us, again, graduated from Nicholls. I graduated in 1975. Nicholls was my home for 5 years. A few firsts that happened for me. Played on my first year, freshman, played on a national championship runner-up team. I'm going to talk about it in a minute. But at that time, it didn't hit me the way it did later on in my life. And it was pretty special. I went to my first panty raid at Ellender Hall. Yeah, I remember it very well. Some of the guys I'm looking at probably remember it too. We'd go stand at the bottom of Ellender Hall like a bunch of doofus, looking up at the air, and the girls would be throwing their panties, and they'd be, coming down like little parachutes. So if I remember right, it happened twice. The second time, they came and ran us back to our dorms. It was kind of hilarious, but you can't have that today. Not that it's politically incorrect. Thongs would just drop straight down. So that wouldn't work. I lived in the Ponderosa, and I'm going to talk to our president about a group of us, it was a very special dorm. I lived in it my second year, and I'll go back a little bit, but the Ponderosa was a very unique building, and I can't explain it, it was unique. It had the walls went halfway up to the ceiling, and you really didn't have any privacy at all in it. But I was there, and there's my roommate sitting right before me, Danny LeBlanc, for my 1 year. And I'll go back over that in a minute. So I stayed in the Ponderosa my second year. I lost a great friend to cancer in 1971. His name was Danny Kramer. I fell in love for the first time in 1972, and no, I didn't marry her or anything. Got my first car at Nicholls. In 1975, I graduated in education and a minor in PE. I bring this up because I grew up at Nicholls. And it's a very special place. Friends and players. A buddy of mine's not here today. His name's Kim Tillery. We were friends since I was 6. And he had my back, and I had his back over the years. He is at a family reunion, and we've talked, and he's here, right here. And I have friends from out of town, Brian Chesley Osborne, Johnny Malonsa. Thank y'all for coming. I'm gonna stop for a second. I wanna thank a special person. I don't know if he's here. I didn't see him before. But let's see, 2018, Ted, myself, and Matt were inducted into the Terrebonne High School Hall of Fame. And that night, I didn't know we were supposed to speak. So none of us did a little thing that we should have thanked somebody who was on the committee. And he was also taught here, and one of his nicknames is Professor, by the way. He taught here at Nicholls, taught math for years. And publicly, I'd like to thank Kit Williams. I don't know if he's here or not, but I just wanted to thank Kit for helping us promote us to the Hall of Fame that year. After Nicholls, I was fortunate enough to God has blessed me. That's all I can say. My first year out of Nicholls, 1975, I worked at Morrison Home Center. Right after that, I saw that H.L. Bourgeois was looking for a baseball coach. So I applied, and I got the job. And I got to spend the 5 best years of my life coaching at H.L. Bourgeois. Don Schwab was my athletic director, and L.P. Bordelon was principal, and they class acts. Don was my mentor. He kept me out of trouble. Don Schwab did. And great coaching staff. I can't go through all of them, but one of them is here. Don Rodriguez here. Where are you, Don? I'm looking for you. Coach Schwab was my mentor. Don showed me how to coach. That man right there should be in the Hall of Fame somewhere. Everybody calls it Coach Rod, wherever he knows everybody in Thibodeau, Houma, Vanderbilt. He's been all over. Thank you for all your help over the years, Don. Okay, after that, right after H.L. Bourgeois in 1980, I played and eventually ran the Houma Oilers and the Budweiser Eagles. And a couple of guys here today, Mike Fish and Doug, and maybe a couple more, I don't know. But that's the most fun I ever had in my life, playing semi-pro baseball in Houma. We had some great games against the Merchants and the New Orleans Athletics. And it was just 8 great years. The best thing about that, about the Oilers and Eagles, I got to run the organization after they ran out of money, and I decided to go talk to Jimmy Buquet with Budweiser, and he decided to sponsor us. Well, my dad had cancer at the time, 1979, and he had lung cancer, but Dad got to see Ted and I play one more time. And that, I decided after that to take over the team and keep running it. I think competition in your life is very important. And over the years, we started this in 1995, and it's not going to mean anything to y'all except for a couple people. And one or two of them are here today, the Hawks and the Jocks. It's a golf group. We play golf every year, and we have a blast. Good friends, and to all we're the Jocks, they're the Hawks, and we beat them more than they beat us. And so to the Hawks, this is Jock heaven right here. Catching. I did not want to catch. Dad and Mr. Freeman put me behind the plate, as I told you. Something about catching, though, it's like a pinball machine. You're standing there and you got everything before you. And you have to be in every minute of the game, because the pitcher throws the ball, you throw it back. That pitcher goes out, that pitcher comes, next pitcher, you throwing it back to him. You calling the pitch. I think it's changed a lot today, and I don't agree with it, but we had to know the game, the whole game, as catchers. And it's a unique position. It's the toughest position in sports. I'm talking major leagues. If you talk about professional, to catch 130-something games in 1 year, I can't imagine it. Okay, the 1970 team. Some of them are here today, and I'll mention them in a minute. But the seniors on that team, the great success for that team to me, besides Coach Didier, and his seniors, Gene Dewey, Mike Longmire, Peter Workman, and who am I missing? Oh, our captain, Frankie Monica, the best storyteller on the team right there. They led. And there's a story I'd like to tell y'all about. And any baseball players in here from the team this year? There y'all are, guys. I was catching and we were playing Magnice. We had a 2-1 lead. Gene Dewey on the mound. And guy on first base, Gene was probably throwing a 2 or 3 hitter. And Gene and I had worked, or he worked, on throwing a screwball. He'd turn it over. And it became a very effective pitch for him. So I called a pitch to Morris, big first baseman at Magnice. Remember him, Charlie? I see you shaking your head. And Nuck left it right at the guy's knees on the inside. And he kind of jerked it. Right down the line, stayed 2-run Houma, beat us. I'm a freshman. He's an All-American, Gene Dewey. So I'm walking off the field, and I'm shaking my head. I said, Nuck, I'm sorry. His nickname was Nuck for Knucklehead. And I said, I'm sorry. And he just looked at me. He said, you call it, James. I got to throw it. And he left it at that. Now, he could have said, your fault, not Nuck. First class. We were built, 1970 team, on pitching and defense. And Frankie Monaco was a hell of a good third baseman. Mike Longmire was a vacuum at shortstop. Whitey Van Dalen could turn two with anybody. And then we had Big Gary, Fay, Root, and Copus at first. I can't go through everything, but Tommy Abity was a hell of a center fielder, one of the best I ever saw. And our team could play with anybody back then. In 1970, we beat LSU, Houston, Ole Miss, and a few others. Of course, I'm going to cut it a little short because I'm talking a little too long here. The backbone of that team was Matt Dinkle, Charlie Frasola, Kenny Alfred, and Gene Dewey. And those four pitchers could pitch today against anybody. Let's see, that's that. All right. Last, two things I'd like to talk about, and you may have mentioned, I didn't say anything about my dad and mom. But Dad was excuse me, came from the greatest generation, D-Day, Omaha Beach. He went in on second wave, and he never talked about World War II, but that one time he did, he talked about how they circled and circled and circled. The first wave got stuck on Omaha Beach, and he just said that he couldn't believe what he saw when he got there. Dad was mild-mannered and calm. His nickname was Plug, for fire plug. Dad had a short fuse. He would get upset about a lot of things, but he taught us how to play the game because he could play the game. He knew the game. Dad was a hell of a ball player. He decided one night, I went 3 for 4 at Babe Ruth Field. So I'm full of myself, and on the way home, I'm waiting for him to say something positive. Nah. We got home. He said, okay, backyard, Ted and Matt know this. And he says, on that time you popped up, this is what you did. You know, I went 3 for 4. I thought I was doing pretty good. When I signed my scholarship, Coach Didier came to the house, but before that, I turned down Northeastern and LSU. And the thing about LSU was Dad was a huge LSU fan. So I'm in the living room, and the phone rings, and I hear him answer the phone. He said, James, it's for you. So I'll come around the corner, and he's got the phone in his hand and like this, and he's looking me directly in the eyes. James, it's LSU. And I knew exactly what he wanted me to do, but he never said a word. I talked to Coach Smith, offered me a scholarship. I said, can you give me a couple days? And I decided to go to Nicholls. To this day, my dad never said a word. Didn't try to talk me into anything. Just allowed me to make my own decision. Dad, I know you're extremely proud right now. And thank you for all you did for me. Now, Mom, she's 96, could not be here today. How do you thank the person who gave you life and then taught you the right way to live it? Always putting you first. She had Gary Fay, Dinkle, and Copus to our house one day and cooked for almost 2 to 3 hours, fried chicken. And she would clean clothes, do everything a mother should do, but she went the extra mile. She always put us before her, always. Dad locked me out the house one time. I came in at 12:05, the door's locked, because he told me I needed to be in by 12. Well, I didn't. And I'm outside in the car, it's cold. About 3 o'clock in the morning, knock on the window. That's Mom. Open the door, let me in. Don't you dare tell Dad. And I did. So, Mom couldn't make it today. So I wrote this down and said, this is for you, Mom, and then I'm done. The song was 1981 Grammy Award winner, Bette Midler. And I'll just read one verse from it. Did you ever know you're my hero and everything I would like to be? I can fly higher than an eagle, for you are the wind beneath my wings. It might have appeared to go unnoticed, but I've got it all here in my heart. I want you to know I know the truth. Of course I know it. I would be nothing without you. Thank you, Mom. Thank God for you, the wind beneath my wings. I love you, Mom. And last, I'd like to thank God. He gives everybody certain abilities, but it's up to us to fulfill those abilities and do the best we can with them and work our behinds off. You got to earn it, fellas. You got to earn it. I love that saying from Private Ryan. You got to earn it. And I'll close with that. Thank y'all.
I was meeting with James this week, and we had talked about how nowadays we have a whole lot more pictures of people and more stats. So thank you to Jan as well for holding on to that, so we'd have something to nominate and induct James on. Following James, another catcher. Callie Clamaw is notably being inducted today after only 2 seasons with the Colonel softball team. A transfer from Spring Hill College, Callie immediately shined for Nicholls behind the plate on the base path, where she joined the team in 2018. That season, her Colonels won over 40 games and the first Nicholls softball championship in over 20 years, as Callie was named Southland Newcomer of the Year, second team All-Southland, Southland first team All-Academic, and All-Louisiana first team. Callie's 2019 season was even better. She led the team in batting average with a blistering .369 and in hits with 52. Her contributions were once again noticed, as Callie was named All-Southland first team, All-Louisiana second team, Southland All-Academic first team, Southland All-Tournament, and NFCA All-Region. In just 2 seasons, Callie's left the Nicholls program record books ranking 3rd in slugging percentage with .557, 8th in batting average at an impressive .343, and 12th in home runs and 14 in just 2 seasons. Callie Mosley, is an alum of E.D. White High School and lives in Mobile with her husband Hunter. Fans, please help me in welcoming Callie Mosley to the Nicholls Hall of Fame.
I just wanted to start by saying thank you. This is truly such an honor and something I'm extremely proud to be a part of. Honestly, I never thought this was possible, especially since I was only here for 2 years. So thank you to everyone who considered me and ultimately chose me for this award. As many of you know, I spent my first 2 years of undergrad at Spring Hill College, which is where I met my amazing husband, Hunter. I believe God let me there for that reason, but then he also took me to Nicholls because this is where I was truly meant to be. Now, being from Thibodeau, I'll admit, I didn't think Nicholls was all that. I really just talked a bunch of smack. It's just Nicholls, academics aren't that good, athletics, all that stuff. And then I got here, and then I was like, oh, wow, I was wrong. From academics to athletics and everything in between. It was the best 2 years here. I mean, my expectations were blown out of the water. And being so close to home, it allowed my extended family to be able to watch me play. At the end of the day, family is what matters most. And awards are wonderful, and I got a bunch of them, so I'm proud of that. But my greatest memory here was actually after every single home game. There was a little girl who ran the bases with me every single time. I mean, no matter what, win, lose, she didn't care because she was here to be with me and support me, and that was my best memory here. And softball has shaped me to be the person that I am today, and for that I owe everything to my parents. Now, from the beginning, they were my biggest supporters, and honestly, they probably could be retired by now with everything that they spent on me. So I showed livestock, I did travel ball, college softball, then PA school. I don't even want to know the amount that my parents spent on me. They gave me a childhood that every child dreams of. Mom and Dad, you are true rock stars, and you should be so proud. I am so proud to be your daughter, and thank y'all for everything. And people often ask me, do you miss it? And my honest answer is always no, because softball was always supposed to be a season in my life, and I knew that from the get-go. What I do miss, however, is the people. I miss the coaches. I miss the relationships. I mean, we were family, traveling, playing softball. I mean, we went to church before games. I mean, we were just one big family. And I miss those coaches and those teammates, and I just want to thank all of my previous coaches and teammates. I want to thank Coach Jay and Coach Santiago, who are my coaches here. They believed in me from Edie White. They knew that I could do it. I didn't believe that I could do it. Even at Spring Hill, I was like, I don't think I can play D1. This is a big step up. But they believed in me, and they proved it to me. I proved it to myself that I could do it. And lastly, I just want to thank God. I have been blessed far beyond I deserve. My health, my family, my education, and now my career as a physician assistant. I just want to thank God so much. I wouldn't be standing here without His grace, and He deserves all the praise and the glory. And I just want to take another second to thank all of you for being here, all those who supported me, and those people that ultimately chose me to be in the Hall of Fame. I am proud. So thank you. I appreciate it.
I doubt Callie remembers this, but the summer she transferred back to Nicholls, her mom and her came in my office, and they're asking all the normal questions you'd think about. And I'll get to why I remember this, but it's like classes and where do I find this, where's that? And at the very end, Callie was just like, when can I start using the weight room? Impressed that she was ready to get down to business. After a standout high school career at Rummel High School in New Orleans, Chase Forkay didn't skip a beat as he became QB1 for the Colonels in the first game of his career on the road against number 9 ranked Georgia. Nicholls didn't win that day, but they won a whole lot more games with Chase under center. That season, Chase finished 6th in the voting for the Jerry Rice Award, awarded for the top freshman in the country. Chase followed that season up with 3 more seasons that put him in the argument for one of the best Colonel football players of all time. Chase was All-Southland 3 times, twice named All-Louisiana, One of those, he was first team All Louisiana, and second team was Joe Burrow. Was the 2019 Southland Offensive Player of the Year, the 2018 Southland Player of the Year, all while winning back-to-back Southland Conference championships in 2018 and 19, with 3 straight trips to the NCAA playoffs in 17, 18, and 19. Chase has all the statistics to back up those awards. He's the Nicholls all-time leader in passing yards, passing touchdowns, rushing touchdowns, completion percentage, and has the Nicholls single-season completion percentage record in 2019 when he completed over 67% of his passes. Chase, who coached at Nicholls and played professionally after his Nicholls career ended, is now the quarterbacks coach at the University of Central Arkansas. He can't be here today because UCA has a game in Georgia. Accepting on Chase's behalf is his father, Keith. Ladies and gentlemen, please help us in welcoming Chase Forcade to the Nicholls Hall of Fame.
Wow. This is a great moment for me, for our family, for my wife Jill, his brother Taylor. First, I want to thank Dr. Plume, JT, Andrew, the committee, Coach Rebo. Coach Rob's not here. It's just truly an honor. When Chase called me and told me I was out in the field, I'm in medical sales, I travel a lot, and the phone kept blowing up. I'm like, what the hell he's calling me for? And then Taylor called me. I'm like, all right, bro, something's up. So Taylor, I said, what's up, man? He goes, Dad, I got elected to the Hall of Fame. I said, man, that's awesome, dude. He goes, man, first ballot. I said, you know what, buddy? I said, you never really went to Nicholls for any kind of awards. They just happened. So he asked me to speak. I said, you sure you want me to speak? I got a lot of stories I can tell. But I just want to start off by, I told Chase early in his life, I said, coach is going to make the biggest impact in you in your whole life. My coach was Coach Joe Zimmerman, my head coach. John will tell you. He's one of the greatest influence of my life I've ever had. And Chase goes, you know what, Dad? Coach Ross is a big influence. Coach Rebo is a bigger influence. Coach Rob, I said, I told you, buddy. So when things happen in life, you're going to always reflect to what they taught you. 2007, Taylor and I were sitting on a couch with Chase, and he woke up. He was watching LSU game, win a national championship. He said, Dad, that's what I want to do. So what do you want to do? I want to play college football like you and Uncle John. I said, you sure? He said, take 3 things. He said, 1, girl in high school sports don't get along. They bat 1,000. They undefeated. 2 is, are you willing to change some of your friends? Because some of your friends don't want to see their friends become successful, so they'll try to bring you down. You ready to make that move? And the last one I told him, I said, you don't have to answer. Your body language is going to tell me. I looked him dead in the eye and said, you ready to pay the price? Because you don't need to like the game. You better love the game. When I'm talking about paying a price, you willing to run when everybody else is home, sleeping? You ready to get up early, lift weights? Because how great you want to be. Because everybody wants to play the game, but not everybody can play the game. It's a special breed to play this game. So I said, all right, buddy, let's go. So he met. I said, what am I going to do? Who do I want coaching my son? I wasn't no helicopter dad. I wanted Coach Roth to coach my son. Why? Because he's old school. I need an old school coach to coach my boy the way we was coached. Because that's what it takes. So he goes to Rummel, and his first full experience of, wow, I'm not the main guy out here. See, when you're in playground, you're the main guy. So his freshman year at Rummel, Tal and I was watching a game, 8th grade game, playing Jesuit. Boy, he looked really, really bad. I'm like, man. So here's a Shaw guy going to Rummel with his son going to Rummel. I hated Rummel. Couldn't stand Rummel. Now my boy's there. So the pressure's already on him. He looked bad that game. This game was over. 8th grade, he gets in the house. I go in his room. The lights are off. Stopped at the store and got some pie. I said, buddy, I said, rough day, huh? He goes, yeah, Dad. I said, you thought you was the man out there. He goes, bad. I said, look, I said, I can't offer you anything, but I can offer you this pie. He goes, what the hell I want with this pie? I said, it's special pie. It's called humble pie. I said, you thought you was a man out there. There's 15, 20 Chase 4Ks out there. I said, but now what you gonna do to separate yourself from the others? He said, Dad, remember when you told me, am I willing to pay the price? From that moment on, his 9th grade year, Taylor and myself would go to Cleary Playground around the corner from my house. Warren Mulaney would turn on the lights at 9:15 at night. And after Chase went through practice, he'd come out there at that park with a bag of balls, and we threw, and we threw. I said, you have to make every throw. If you're on this for a hash, you better make a frozen rope throw to the other sideline, 15-yard out route. And we playing, and we training, and we training, and training. Then came his sophomore year. They had a battle for the quarterbacks. Now he's coming home. He's Dad. He says, I'm going to be ready to play when I'm a junior. I said, why is that? I said, let me tell you something, son. You're going to start next year. He looked at me and said, why you said that? I said, because you're a 4K. We don't back up nobody. That's just the way it is. So he went through spring. First game was against East St. John. Didn't play. He came home. He's mother this, F that. He's all over the place. I'm like, calm down. Trust the process. Tell a kid to trust the process. He's used to starting. Well, next thing you know, next game comes around. Chase gets an alternate against Hornville. He happened to be in a game that was losing 5-0 against Hornville. He got in the game, he threw a hook and ladder, we won 7-5. He's all excited. After the game, he comes up to me, all excited. I looked him dead in the eyes and said, do me a favor. I said, when you see Coach Roth, you apologize to him. He said, apologize for what? We just won. I said, let me tell you something, son. I said, if you want to lead this team, when they took you out of the game, your body language is terrible. If you're going to lead this team, you got to accept what happens. You can't show your emotions. Boy, he learned. So, next weekend came. Chase came home from his practice that Saturday. He goes, Dad, I'm the starting quarterback. I said, great job. You're starting against Acadiana. I said, no, Dad. Coach Roth named me the starting quarterback for the rest of the year. Saturday, I stood up. I said, now you ready to work harder? Because now you got to keep the job. Boy, he worked hard. He worked hard. So he had a great 4 years, his 3 years started at Rummel. Had some great times. But then it came to junior year in high school. He goes, Dad, I'm not getting any offers. And Coach Ross called me up. I was heading to Jackson, Mississippi. He goes, Keith, Arkansas State's going to be his first offer. Chase was so excited. He said, Dad, he goes, I'm the only quarterback that's going to offer in Louisiana. I said, hold on, bro. I got on the Twitter. I said, they already offered 4 other quarterbacks. The coach is going to tell you what you want to hear, not what you need to hear. I said, let me tell you something, son. I says, this is your decision. So he comes up to play in a game in Lake Charles. He's playing baseball. He was a catcher. He's out there. He met the coach from McNeese. He offered him a scholarship. Didn't even meet my son. Just offered him right there. Didn't take long for Coach Lee from Nicholls, the offensive line coach, to text me and say, hey, man, what about Nicholls? I said, Coach Lee, recruit him. Don't assume. And once Coach Lee called Chase and offered him, the done deal. But me as a father, I wanted to make sure he's making the right move. So we took a trip to Maryland. And he gets to Maryland and tell him how to dress. Of course, these kids don't look at the weather like we do. It was a weekend of a blizzard. I said, he ain't coming here. He ain't coming here, bro. We land at the Reagan Airport. I'm in a coat. He's got his shirt on and that door opened up in the car. He looked at me. I says, you're not too smart about this, huh? So we get there and we get snowed in for 2 extra days. Man, that boy's like, Dad. I said, I hear you, bro. We out of here. So we get to the airport. Typical kids these days. He said, Dad, I says, Coach Walt Bell, and they calling me up. I said, you got to tell him. He goes, can I text him? I said, nah, man, this is the man's world now. You got to treat him. You got to talk to him. So he called him up. So Walt Bell called me back and goes, hey, we're coming. We're going to be there Monday. I said, I don't know why you're coming, Coach. Chase ain't going to be there Monday. He said, yeah, he just called me. I said, Coach. So people want to ask me, the most questions I've ever got was, why did Chase pick Nicholls State? It was in the February, the Wednesday of the first week of February, I think is the signing date. So that Tuesday, we're sitting in our living room. Chase was sitting right here. I'm on a couch over here. My wife's over there, and Taylor's somewheres. And he goes, Dad, I'm going to break your heart. I'm going to go to Nicholls. My wife looked at me with daggers in her eyes. Said, you better go downstairs and talk to him. So I walked downstairs and I said, son, I'm not disappointed. I wouldn't be a good father to make sure you was going to the right place. I'm just going to ask you why you picked Nicholls. And I'll never forget it. This is when he really had to make his first decision. He said, Dad, I remember you telling me back in the day Nicholls was a good program. I said, they were, buddy. They had meatball and they had some players out here, man, that was put. He goes, Dad, he looked me dead in my eyes. He said, Dad, I'm going to change all that. So what do you mean? I said, son, you're going to have played in front of more fans at Rummel than you will at Nicholls. He goes, Dad, I'm going to change all that. And what does a father do when a man has a dream? I got out of his way. I says, bro, do what you do. Was at a baseball game, was playing, Rummel was playing Ruston at Chalmette. And Coach Monica, Frank, was right next to me outside the batting cage. And Chase, he's just dying to get in the game as a freshman, right? So they got a little arm pad for all the pitches. So Chase runs out there without the arm pad. I said, damn, he's that smart? He gonna call his own pitches? So Coach Monica, Nick said, Chase, you forget something. So he comes back, so I'm talking to Frank outside, and Frank goes, you know what, Keith, about leadership? I said, yeah, Frank. He goes, leaders are not well liked. Because what leaders do, they hold people accountable. They hold your teammates accountable. And one of the greatest things that really I admired Coach Rebo, we played Georgia. I think it was a 52-point underdog. So Taylor and I go to the game. We're trying to find out where to sit. So I asked the concierge, I said, where's the handicap section? He goes, way down there in the end zone, and the sun's rising, it's 11:30 game. I look down there, I see a little bitty old patch of red. And I happen to see my wife there. I'm going, okay, I ain't going down there. So I didn't have no place to go. So I took out the international language that everybody understands. I took out $40 in my pocket, saw the concierge. I says, can we sit here? He goes, sure. So we happened to sit behind where the big dollar Georgia Bulldogs fans were sitting. So Taylor and I was watching the game, and I noticed this one kid. You know, George, you know, SEC, we start tailgating on a Tuesday, right? So they all hammered. So this one kid down there, when Nicholls took the drive and went down, Georgia took the drive, went down, and the guy turned around, looked at everybody, who's this team? Where are they from? 10-7 halftime. That kid stopped drinking. The kid turned around, was all biting his nails, and goes, where's this school from? I said, bro, we're from Nicholls. We could have won that game. But that was a big pivotal learning point for this team. Coach Rebo played a lot of freshmen. A lot of freshmen. So that same year, we go play the University of Central Arkansas. Never sat with my wife at any game. They always think we divorced because I sit with my son in the handicap section. So that game, I happened to sit with my wife at the University of Central Arkansas game, and I realized why I don't sit together. So we're at the game, and we got the ball. Chase just ran long run and gets to midfield. He turns around, throws a touchdown pass. But the side judge on the opposite field threw a flag about 40 yards downfield for holding, right, Coach? So turnover on downs. So I'm watching Chase. I'm going, okay. So it's freshman. So he gets off. He's walking off the field. And I'm saying to myself, do not. He starts jawing with the referee. So he starts walking off the field. And I'm saying to myself, I told my wife, I said, Jill, I said, he's going back. He turned around and walked back. And that referee dug in his pants to his socks and threw the flag to the stratosphere. And before it hit the ground, he said, unsportsmanlike number 9. I'm like, oh my goodness. So Chase is walking off the field, and I'm thinking to myself, Coach Rebo gonna rim him. Coach Rebo walked past him and went straight to the official. I'm like, all right, this is good. This is good. So after the game, and my mom, she made every game, watched my brother and I, tried to made every game to my Chase place. So my mom had $20 in her hand. So after every game, my mom wants to sneak $20 to hand her grandson. Like, I said, Mom, trust me, the NCAA is not coming over here to Thibodeau to investigate you. She goes, well, I saw what they did you and your brother at Ole Miss, how they were paying y'all. I figured I had to hide it. I'm like, trust me, Mom, they're not going to investigate the ground. Well, anyway, Chase comes out with his bag. He's got his shorts on. It's about 40 degrees. He's got his shorts on, there's steam coming on. He's throwing his bag in the back of the truck. He's coming around by us, and he starts, F this, M that. I'm like, whoa, what's going on here? So my mom leans over, and she goes, boy, he's pretty excited. My mom looked at me, and she goes, I have no idea where he gets that from. I said, buddy, what are you mad at? He goes, Dad, when I came to Nicholls, I told these seniors I was going to give them a winning record. I promised these seniors they were going to do something. Because those seniors before Chase had never experienced what winning was like. They wound up winning, I think, 5-4 in conference, 5-6 overall. That right there, as a freshman, made me look at my son differently. Because like Coach Monica told me, leaderships of people leaders are somebody that's not well liked. And Chase became a leader that day. He became where people can rely on Chase. But then there was the other side of the ball. See, Chase didn't come here alone. It just wasn't Chase. Sully was a big part of this team. Huge part on the other side of the ball. But what was most intrigued was that Coach Rebo, I looked at that team, he put a bunch of winners together. We wasn't the biggest team. There wasn't too many 6'5", 6'3" linebackers. But I've always told Chase, you can't measure a person's heart. You can't measure their desire. Because there was a time when Chase was worried about his height. Will he be recruited? And that's one day I walked up, he was shaving. I walked up to the mirror and I said, hey, son, I said, this is as tall as you're going to get. Don't let that stop you. Don't let that be the deciding factor in why you're not going to play. And it wasn't. It wasn't. And when Chase was growing up, I asked Chase, I said, what's your why? Why you want to play football? And I was eating one day, and I got a text message. And he goes, Dad, you know why? I said, but tell me why. He says, I got a brother that can't play football. So I'm going to live my life through him. I'm going to play for him. And that's the main reason why he didn't go to Maryland. Because he wanted his brother to see him play. He wanted his brother to be there. And he was there every game. You know, when you look at a player, you got to decide, am I going to fight with him? Or am I going to go to battle without him? And Chase was ready to go to battle with anybody. Chase didn't come to Nicholls for these awards. He didn't come here to get Southland Conference. He came here like he told me. He said, Dad, I'm gonna change that place. That was a big decision for him to make at Nicholls. Hey, I'm so proud of him. When he called me and told me this, I said, son, I'm not worried about your awards. It's the intangible things you did. It's the stuff that people don't recognize. Jill and I, my wife and I, was home one day. We happened to look through Twitter and we found a message. And the message read was that, here I am at the Nicholls State game watching Chase Forcade drink something out of the water bottle. He took a piece of trash and threw it, and he missed the garbage can. Before he went back on the field, he turned around, went and picked up that trash and put it in the garbage can. And the person that wrote that on Twitter was the senator from Louisiana, I forget his name. That made me feel so good because there's a story with the Baltimore Ravens. They had a really good, talented team, but they wasn't winning. So Ed Reese got up there and told the team, he said, we need to do the little things to be successful. And those little things were picking up trash, cleaning your locker room. Don't expect adults to come in here and pick up after you. Those are the little things. Because I always had a saying with my boy, the little things take care of the big things. Now, I really believe Chase was meant to be here. It was just it. Because what Chase has done was phenomenal. But he wouldn't have done it with the people he had. He had some great players here that he played with. I remember one time was at the driveway and they were getting ready to go throw. So I came out the house and Dijon said, what's going on? He goes, man, I found out about Chase. What are you talking about? He goes, don't miss a workout. Don't tell him you're going to be here and don't show up because you're going to be in his doghouse. That's what leaders are about. Leaders hold people accountable. Leaders have empathy. Leaders understand what it takes to get done. Leaders make other players better. And the Nicholls State team that Chase was on had so many leaders. That's why we became the team they were. I know Chase would give anything to be here. I found out today that Chase talked to the team last night. Here's a guy getting ready to go coach a game today, and he has time to talk to Nicholls. You won't find a former player that bleeds this school right here. He would give anything to be here right now. And we got in a knockdown, drag-out argument about it, too. He wanted to be here. I said, son, that'd be a career-ending move. He said, Dad, this is Nicholls. I said, I understand, son. I said, people love you here. They understand. So I want to thank y'all for allowing me to come out here and speak on behalf of Chase. Chase was just a small part of this team. There's so many components that go into a successful team. Me as a father, I couldn't be no more proud of my son. No more. Now he's starting his second stage of his life. He asked me what he wanted to do. I said, you know what, son? I was playing at TPC one day. I said, you could be the next Joe Brady. I said, you could be the next great offensive coordinator. I said, but you got to really decide what you want to do. He was coaching high school for 3 years. I made that decision for him. I said, you didn't go to Nicholls for 3 years to hold a clipboard in the high school. You're too talented to be here, so you got a job. Would he love to be here? Hell yeah. But I said, son, it's his business now. This is the way the world is. So he's out there today. He starts at 1 o'clock. It was so great to hear Coach tell me that Chase talked to the team last night. Hopefully he can steer the ship, because I know Chase's business what he had here is not done. He's not finished with Nicholls, and hopefully Nicholls not finished with him. In closing, guys, I really want to appreciate everything y'all have done for my son, Coach Rebo. I cannot thank. You took a boy that came here as a young kid, turned him into a man. He's made mistakes. We've all made mistakes. But I can promise you right now, Chase Forcade will always be a colonel, no matter where he's at. And I want to thank you guys again for allowing me the opportunity to come up here. Thank you very much.
Keith is correct. I was talking to Chase the last few weeks. I told JT about 2 weeks ago, I'm a little worried Chase might drive like ridiculously too fast to try and make this work, but we mentioned Chase had one of the best careers in Nicholls history. Starring on the opposite side of the field, Sully Lesh, his teammate from 2016 to 2019, dominated the defensive side. Nicholls has had his fair share of superstars on defense. Gary Barbaro, Ladarius Webb, to name a few. Sully's career may have topped them all, as there aren't many players that can say they were all conference for all 4 years of their career. Sully can, including 2 first-team all-conference honors. Sully was also a 4-time All-Louisiana honoree, while winning back-to-back conference championships and making 3 consecutive NCAA playoff appearances. The 2019 Southland Championship was won when Sully stripped the Southeastern quarterback of the ball inside the 1-yard line, when less than 1 minute to play in the final game of the season. Sully's career was highlighted his senior year, where he finished 3rd in the Buck Buchanan Award, which is given yearly to the best defensive player in the country. In that season, Sully is one of very few defensive players ever to be named Southland Player of the Year. To make that season even more impressive, Sully did play the first 2 games and was limited in 2 more due to back injury. Being named to 1 All-American team is impressive. Sully was named to 11 and finished his career 2nd all-time in Southland history with 37.5 sacks and 62 tackles for loss. Ladies and gentlemen, please help us in welcoming Sully Lesh to the Nicholls Hall of Fame.
Well, first of all, I want to thank the committee. It really means a lot to me and my family. And thank you guys as well. So I've had many wins and losses in my life, but I feel like today is a bigger victory of them all, because it doesn't honor the journey, it honors the outcome. As I stand here today, I can see many faces of those who walked this road with me and others who are not able to be here today. To begin, I would like to thank my 2 brothers that had a huge impact on my early athletic career. Tyler and Blake were the first 2 I looked up to, whether we were hitting baseballs in the yard, playing tackle football, or dragging deers throughout the Louisiana swamp. I try to be just like them and better. They helped me transfer the love of the game from Bantam football to high school and then college. As the transition from Bantam to high school football, I thought the game was about strength and speed, but it was, oh, I'm sorry. Let's see. During my recruiting process, there was one person who continuously was persistent and believed in me and knew I could do the job. Coach Lee Roussel. It didn't matter what time of the day it was, he was always contacting me through social media. That's right when social media came out. He's like, hey, when are you gonna commit to us, you know? So it was around 10:30 that night. I called the coaches and I did a verbal commit, and thank Coach Lee and the Nicholls Athletics for taking a chance on the undersized River Parish guy. Ending my high school career in a Superdome, winning a state championship ring was probably one of the best moments of my life until I stepped in between the hedges in Athens, Georgia. It was at this moment I knew coming to Thibodeau was the right decision for me. It was at this moment the strongest bond began between my teammates and coaches. It was at this moment I knew I was going to be a part of Coach Rebo's special championship era. There are many people who shared this journey with me. Thanks to my family and friends for being there at all the games. Thank you for my traveling crew, my Uncle Bobby, my Aunt Nancy, Papa, Momo, and Miss Gaynell and Stowe. But most of all, there's 3 people that's sitting here in these stands today. My wife, my mom, and dad. I'm still wondering to this day how you guys juggled a full-time job and never missed one of my football games. This honor of being inducted into the Hall of Fame is not the finish line. It's a reminder that hard work, determination, and heart matters long after the game is over. And with that being said, I just want to thank you guys again.
There's a lot we do for this ceremony. One of them is, you look at that picture of Sully. One of the hardest things was find a picture of Sully that no one else was in it, because it was like constantly 2 and 3 offensive linemen blocking him.
Do a lot of editing, huh?
Yeah, I'm not that good at Photoshop. In just over 3 years in Thibodeau, Matt Roan transformed the Nicholls athletic department as the director of athletics. Headlining Roan's accomplishments were major facility renovations or new builds for all 17 of Nicholls' teams that were completed or in the process of happening at the end of his tenure. Matt was able to secure the largest gift in Nicholls athletics history to help support those improvements and create a vision for the future here in Thibodeau. Matt was able to fill those facilities with champions as well, and it started with champions in the classroom, as for the first time, the department set a 3.0 GPA for the first time in school history. Roan's tenure included back-to-back conference championships in football, while hosting the school's first NCAA playoff game and following it up by doing it the next 2 years. Additionally, men's basketball, softball, and women's basketball were all able to win conference championships during his time in Thibodeau. Matt also hired former men's basketball head coach Austin Claunch, who went on to win back-to-back Southland titles as a colonel. The competitive success under Roan's leadership in Nicholls led to its highest ranking in school history with the 2017-18 Learfield Directors Cup. Matt is currently the Director of Athletics at James Madison University in Harrisonburg, Virginia, where his wife Mallory and their 4 kids, Gatlin, Radley, and Ketchard, and Shepherd live. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me in welcoming Matt Roan to the Nicholls Hall of Fame.
I'll move it back, I promise. Well, good morning is now good afternoon. So I appreciate you sticking around for usually the best is last. It's the worst today. So I do appreciate that. I was going to joke that Andrew left out all the good parts, but all kidding aside, he read it just like I wrote it. So very well done there. Again, I appreciate everybody for being here this morning, this afternoon, for what is a special occasion for me, for my wife Mallory, and what I trust is a special day for an incredible class of individuals. I know I'm the last thing standing between you and tailgating, so I'll do my very best to be brief, but I want to make sure that I say the things that are on my heart. But who am I kidding? Henry and Jude called me yesterday and said Jude was making a big pastelaya jambalaya, and so I'm as eager as anybody to get out and tailgate. You know, we have a text exchange, the 3 of us, Dr. Clune, JT, and I, and when good things happen here, Dr. Clune always says, that didn't happen on Roan's watch. Well, on my watch, there was weather forecast never had 3 to 5 inches of rain as well, so you're welcome for that. But going into the Hall of Fame as an AD, I immediately state that I want to recognize and I appreciate that I'm standing here really not for anything that I did. It's because of so many different people, right? That list should always start with the outstanding student athletes that we've always had here, just like Stephanie, and James, Callie, Chase, Sully, all of whom, except for James, I was fortunate to get to support during my tenure. Sully, I don't know that I've ever been happier in my life than when you came out of that pile with that ball, and that includes the day I was married and the birth of my 4 kids. It includes a group of outstanding coaches and staff, and together, I think we made an amazing team, assisting one another, support student athletes like each of you. And it takes an amazing group of investors and supporters like Trey, to whom I owe personally a great deal of gratitude, and I wish he could have been here so that we could catch up. I guess Kiefer will have to do. I'll be honest with you, if we were betting who would mention Panty Raid, I thought it was going to be Mike Kiefer. But Amelie and Stephen, and I can attest that Stephen is a phenomenal fundraiser, because even almost 6 years after leaving here, I do get a weekly email asking me to support the World War II Museum. So he is phenomenal at what he does. But it's because of this awareness of other people that you're going to realize that the tenor of my remarks this afternoon is thanking people, and it does start with Mallory. So I was reminded of Nicholls in late summer of 2016 when Richie Riley and I, the former head men's basketball coach here, we were connected for the very first time through a mutual friend, and we talked about the opportunity to be the AD here. And if you know me, you know that I tend to get excited. I can get laser focused on things. Not so much Mallory, right? But in the case of the opportunity to call Thibodeau home, the opportunity to become a colonel, she was all in from the very first conversation. We talked about that over the last few weeks, and she never flinched at the idea of moving with 3 kids and 1 on the way and giving this everything that we possibly had. I remember sitting in our living room, and we watched that game at Georgia. We didn't have this opportunity yet, but we were watching it as fans. We already believed in what was possible here, and we were hooked without even knowing. Have never even set foot in Thibodeau, but we were absolutely hooked. And a lot of people have told me that she was the one that in fact did get the job for me. We had a community forum. She was the star of the show there. When we had dinner with the search committee, I didn't speak. She took care of all of that for me, and if you've ever heard her laugh, there were a lot of laughs there as well. But from our very first day in Thibodeau, and really even before, she was never anything but supportive, and I think that she still looks pretty good in red and gray and black. But now my name and photo are on that plaque, but there's no doubt that your fingerprints are all over it. But I mentioned being reminded of Nicholls because I have to go back to the fall of 2002 when my Nicholls journey actually started and I first heard about this place. I was a postgraduate student at Hargrave Military Academy in Chatham, Virginia, and we had a team of young men made up of individuals from all over the country. Right, and one of my teammates, a good buddy, we lived in military barracks, he lived in the room next to me. He was from right here in Thibodeau. His name was Charlie Menton, and so when I start pursuing this opportunity and looking into it, I tried to look Charlie up, and I was really saddened to read that he had passed away in 2010. And I can remember Charlie, we would sit in the barracks again. This is before cell phones. You had a calling card. You had about 2 minutes to make a phone call home. So we would sit and recollect and talk with one another, but I remember him talking incredibly fondly about his hometown. Right? I remember him telling me about his friends, his family, how important those things were to him. And I can remember him telling me how he wanted to go back home to play at Nicholls. He ended up actually signing at Louisiana College, which is Lindsay's alma mater, and I appreciate you for being here today. And I can evenly remember sitting with him in study hall when we were supposed to be studying, right? We're looking up pictures. And that was the first time my eyes had ever seen a picture of Guidry Stadium, and it actually happened to be with the Manning Passing Academy and fireworks and things are going off. But although he's no longer here with us, I do want to thank Charlie for introducing me to his hometown, this special place. And I want to thank his parents, Chuck and Maxine, who I know aren't here today, but for being so supportive of our family. They're an amazing, strong couple. President Murphy, thank you for making the effort to be here today all the way from Sarasota. But most importantly, thank you for the opportunity that you provided me. The saying goes that if you can't play, you coach. and if you can't coach, you become an administrator. I instead like to say that when you were so athletic and versatile that coaching one sport would never satisfy you, that you become an AD so that you can work with them all. You gave me that opportunity. And for that, for the very first time, I still get to do almost 10 years later what I love to do. I'm appreciative of the counsel and direction that you gave me as a first-time AD and during our first year together. I really had no business getting the job that I did at 32 years old. I questioned your character and your judgment when you gave that to me. I have a lot more gray now, maybe a few more inches packed on as well, but you took a chance on me, and for that, I am forever thankful. I want you to know that I keep a folder in my desk at JMU from Miss Jean, and it's a folder that's filled with articles that she gave me during my interview, that she would give me from time to time, about what an AD should be, and I strive every single day to meet that mark. She was a remarkable woman, and again, such a great friend to both Mallory and me. The day that it was announced that I'd be the 9th AD in Nicholls' history, I received a call from its 4th one. Somebody mentioned him earlier, Coach Don Landry, who was a 3-sport student athlete at UL. He coached basketball here, he was an AD here, he was a commissioner, and he worked in Major League Baseball. So if you get a little ahead of yourself, right, that checks your ego. That's that humble pie that you talk about. So I got some work to do to catch Coach Landry. But I'm so thankful for his friendship, his mentorship, our regular calls between one another, the most recent of which was just a couple weeks ago when I was sitting in the Columbus airport. But there's not a better person in the world than Coach Landry. He told me he'd be watching today, so I wanted to be sure to acknowledge him, and again, thank him for how he continues to positively impact my life and inspire me to do even more. I'm thankful for you, President Clune, for sticking with me when you came on board Nicholls. You may have just not known anyone else to name the AD here. I'm not sure, but there's obviously a lot of anxieties anytime you go through that type of transition, and I'll never forget the relief that I felt, Lindsay felt, our entire team felt, when you complimented athletics during your on-campus interview. That gave our staff and me just so much confidence. And I appreciate you lecturing through the years and trying to instill into me those cowboy values that you and I always talk about. It's an inside joke between the two of us. My only issue with Dr. Clune is that he almost had to fire me over some backlash of telling the Twitter world, Facebook world, that I was not allowing Boots Clune, his dog, to go on the team charter plane to Kansas. It was touch and go for a minute, but it is truly great to see everything that you've accomplished here in the 6 years since I served under your leadership. There are renovated and new facilities everywhere, and there's a saying that you can tell a campus's trajectory by the number of construction projects happening, right? By the number of cranes on some of these bigger buildings that you actually see. I love seeing this place succeed under your leadership together with Allison. You both are first-class people. You have a beautiful family, and I'm so thankful that everything's working out well there. But from even before my first official day on the ground here in Thibodaux, there's so many friendships that have endured, and I've been blessed to have the partnership and support of so many of you in this room and others that aren't. Again, I mentioned Trey. Tommy Meyer was a spark that helped us do a lot of different things. And I told Mallory that I was resistant and pretty amazing. But there is one other person that I do have to mention by name. This is tough. But Mr. Nil Swanner, whose personality was larger than life, whose generosity to me, to our softball program specifically, was even greater, and who I wish so badly he could be here so that he could ask me what the hell I did to deserve something like this. I can hear him saying it, and because I know he would have asked that question, obviously, thank you to the committee for agreeing, but I suppose I'm here because a committee believed we, I emphasize that, accomplished enough from the day we arrived until the day that I walked out of Barker for the very first time to deserve such a recognition. Whether that was, again, growing infrastructure and resources, including those facilities, competitive successes, the academic achievement that Andrew mentioned, community service and impact, or something more. I emphasize that we, again, because I didn't accomplish anything on my own, and I'm well aware of that. It took a team, and we had a great one. Instead, what I saw my role as and what I worked hard to do every single day was to have each of you, again, the people in this room, inside the department, in this community, believe that great things were possible here, to try and create positive momentum and really rally everyone to hopefully having them pull the rope in the same direction. Right? I always say winning is hard even when that happens. It's impossible when there's tension, right? When people are pulling against one another. And we did enhance the spaces where student athletes are developed and compete. We did put on, I think, great shows for this community to enjoy. We had great student athletes and coaches win several championships, but this institution and this community started to show and started to value athletics and recognize its value, I think, maybe more than it ever had before. And never was that more apparent than when so many volunteers stepped up to help us host that first home football playoff game in November of 2017. And most importantly, I want you to know that we tried to go about accomplishing all of this in a way that would make each and every person who loves Nicholls proud. Again, I hope we did that above all else. So I know there was a show of hands earlier. Student athletes, I know we have several baseball student athletes. Anybody else? All right, then I'm just going to speak to baseball and one other, right? So that's good. But to the student athletes who are here, I love that you are here, right? Because the one thing that I want to say is I want to encourage every single one of you to embrace this place, right? This is an era of incredible mobility. And I want you to listen to the words of the people who have spoken, the now Hall of Fame student athletes. And I want you to hear what this place means to them, right? I want you to have a school that you can come back to just like they do. The support you have on this campus and in this community is uncommon. You're surrounded by people who protect and look out for you, who invest in you, and who will show you grace when you make a mistake, just as they did a first-time AD who may or may not have dropped an F-bomb in a huddle-up chalk talk one time before a championship football game. Don't tell HR. But I'm going to point to two critical decisions that I made that I think are arguably the best ones, and they involve people here today. One sitting in the audience, and one sitting behind me on the stage. I'm not here but for Tim Rebo being willing to accept less money than he could have made elsewhere and a lot less responsibility. To stay here and become an ambassador for this place. More than just football, right? Gaining your trust inspired so many others. And somehow I did that. And again, so much of any success for me then, now, starts with you. And so I thank you for that. I cry more over Tim Rebo than I did my wife. How about that? But your legacy on the field in this community is unmatched. And the second, just like I am today, right? A lot of you probably recall that I was very emotional. It was a hard decision to leave Nicholls. And I called as many of you as I possibly could to let you know how I felt. And I was telling Terry Bro, I saw Terry actually before I saw Dr. Clune that day. It was tough, right? It was a lot of tears. But I remember making my way to the end of that hallway and sitting in Dr. Clune's office. But he asked for my opinion in that moment about who should replace me, right? And to me, that was the ultimate recognition of what it is that we tried to accomplish. And my recommendation was JT, because I knew he would not only validate what we were able to do, but I knew that he would make it even better, and he's done just that. He's the perfect fit for Nicholls. I know that although not nearly as handsome and charming, you absolutely elevated the position of AD when I left and he started sitting in that chair. And I do miss our conversations on Rebo's couch. He's trying to game plan. We're making bad jokes with one another. And he's thinking, will you hurry up and leave? But I just finally want to conclude where I started, and that's talking about Mallory. My third day on the job, we hosted the regular season football finale on a Thursday night. I obviously had never done this before. We had a skeleton crew working that game. They asked me what did I want to do, and I said, well, I'll just observe. And then after the game, I realized there was about 5 people that were trying to put that game on, so I felt that small. But it was only I realized about 10 minutes before kickoff that I had failed to secure parking and tickets for Mallory, and then 3 kids, and she was about 8 months pregnant with number 4, Shepherd, who was born here in Thibodaux. And I only realized that I had forgot because she chewed my ass out for as long as it took to walk from the rec center to the stadium. And I think back to that night and then being introduced on the field as a family during the game to this afternoon and the opportunity that we're going to have to be recognized in this way this morning again and this afternoon on the field is surreal. And it's special to be in this theater and on that field, on the campus, in the community, but most importantly with so many people that we care about today. In conclusion, I am so grateful that my AD journey started right here, and I wouldn't trade that journey because it includes Nicholls for anything in the world. I was given some advice that was great advice when I arrived, as somebody that was coming from a native Virginian, right, moving here from Kentucky, and that's that if you love this region, its people, its culture, it will love you right back, right? Those words ring so true, and I hope you can tell then and see and hear now just how much so many of you have impacted us and how much we love this place. Today, we certainly feel that love in return. Thank you all so much for this singular honor for something that we all did. I'm a forever fan of Nicholls, and go Colonels. Thank you all.
Matt, JT, and I just talked. If you're forever grateful, add another 0 to a game guarantee check, and we'll be truly appreciative. Thank you for coming today, and please join us in congratulating our 2025 Hall of Distinction and Hall of Fame inductees one more time. After the conclusion of today's ceremonies, we'd like all the inductees to please come on stage so we can get a picture with everyone. Before I sign off, thank you for attending, and all our attendees. Congratulations, this is an extremely special day, and we're glad you're here with us. Please welcome the Vice President of Collegiate Athletics, Jonathan Terrell, back to the stage.
What an afternoon. How awesome. Congratulations to each and every one of you. I know there is some tailgating going on, and I do remember all the stories that I was a part of. Thank you, Ms. Alm, Matt, each and every one of you, to be around Sully. It is amazing to be a part of such a great university with so many stories, with such great future ahead. So I want to say thank you again for coming out. Our student athletes, baseball, whatever sport, spend 5 minutes with them, you'll understand why this space is so special. I say it all the time, I get to do this job. I don't have to go to work, I get to go to work. I'm excited. Taryn sometimes doesn't understand why I'm so excited to go to work every day. But I thank her for allowing me to follow my dream, and Matt putting the bug in my ear to go chase it. So thank you for all that you do. I appreciate you, and make sure that all of the attendees come back up, and go Colonels. Let me do that.
If you are waiting for the baseball draft, the Nicholls baseball draft, that is happening here shortly. You're in the right place.
This segment was brought to you by Terrebonne Ford, built Ford tough.